In the bustling heart of the city, where the stark lines between affluence and poverty are as clear as the gleaming skyscrapers towering over run-down neighborhoods, Jack Donovan, a middle-aged man, stands out in a crowd. Dressed in a business suit with a red MAGA hat perched atop his head, he embodies a juxtaposition of power and controversy. His presence in the downtown area, known for its vibrant mix of corporate professionals and marginalized residents, draws mixed reactions from passers-by. Jack, a corporate lawyer known for his ruthless efficiency, often walks through this part of the city to clear his mind and escape the high-stakes pressure of his job. Despite his intimidating exterior, there's an undercurrent of thoughtfulness in his stride, a complexity to his character that goes unnoticed by most. On this particular afternoon, as the city hums with the chaos of ending workdays and the onset of rush hour, Jack witnesses a scene that stops him in his tracks. A homeless man, shabbily dressed and visibly weary, is being harassed by a group of young professionals. Their laughter cuts through the air, sharp and mocking, as they poke fun at his misfortune, pulling at his tattered blanket and jeering. The scene stirs something deep within Jack. Despite the potential backlash of stepping into a situation so misaligned with the public persona often associated with his political views, he can't turn away. With a firm resolve, Jack approaches the group, his voice commanding yet calm. "Enough," Jack says, standing protectively in front of the homeless man. His intervention shocks the onlookers, not just for the action itself but for who is taking it. The sight of a well-dressed man in a MAGA hat defending a homeless individual challenges the stereotypes held by many in the crowd. "Why would you help him?" one of the instigators sneers, disbelief coloring his tone. "Because it's the right thing to do," Jack replies, meeting the young man's gaze with a level of sincerity that is disarming. Everyone deserves respect, regardless of their circumstances. The confrontation quickly diffuses as the group disperses, leaving Jack with the homeless man, who looks up at him with a mixture of surprise and gratitude. Jack offers him his hand, helping him to his feet, and asks if he's all right. The homeless man nods, his voice rough with emotion. "Thank you, sir. I didn't expect anyone to help, let alone." Jack cuts him off with a gentle chuckle. "Let alone a guy in a MAGA hat." He smiles, a genuine warmth reaching his eyes. "Well, maybe it's time we all start expecting more from each other." As they part ways, the narrator hints, but little did they know, this encounter would change everything, setting the stage for a story that will explore the powerful dynamics of unexpected kindness and the revelation of Jack's true identity, which will challenge and transform the perspectives of all who witnessed the event. As Jack and the homeless man, whom he learns is named Tom, continue their conversation, a young woman approaches them with a cautious but determined stride. Dressed in a simple jean jacket and carrying a backpack that seems weighed down with books, she introduces herself as Sarah, a social work student who often volunteers to help the city's homeless population. "Is everything okay here?" Sarah asks, her eyes flicking between Jack and Tom, her tone blending concern with a readiness to intervene. Her initial wariness of Jack's appearance, his suit and MAGA hat, clashes with her mission-driven desire to assist. Jack nods, explaining the recent events. "Everything's settled now, thanks to a bit of timely intervention," he says with a slight smile. Sarah's demeanor softens as she realizes Jack's role in defusing the situation. Sarah kneels beside Tom, checking on him with professional attentiveness. "I've seen you around the park sometimes, Tom. How have you been feeling lately? Anything you need?" Her questions are gentle, her manner respectful, showing her experience and empathy in dealing with vulnerable individuals. Tom, visibly comforted by Sarah's familiarity and kindness, responds more openly. He mentions a few basic needs, mostly medical supplies and warmer clothing as the weather turns colder. Sarah nods, taking notes in a small pad she pulls from her backpack, her actions efficient yet filled with compassion. Observing this, Jack's perception shifts. Initially, he'd seen Sarah as just another young student, perhaps naive about the world's harsher realities. But witnessing her interaction with Tom, her expert balance of warmth and professionalism, he recognizes her deep commitment and skill, qualities he admires and understands from his own practice, albeit in a very different context. "I'm impressed by your dedication," Jack comments after Sarah finishes her quick assessment and stands to face him again. "It's not easy work." Sarah shrugs, a modest smile tugging at her lips. "It's about making a small difference where you can," she says. "Sometimes that's all it takes to change a part of the world, or at least someone's world." Her words strike a chord with Jack, echoing his own thoughts from moments earlier. The simplicity of her approach, focusing on immediate, tangible aid, contrasts starkly with the complex legal strategies and corporate battles he navigates daily. Jack, moved by Sarah's sincerity and the direct impact of her work, finds himself offering help. "Is there a way I could assist? Maybe fund some of the supplies or help with a shelter?" he suggests, his offer genuine. Sarah's initial surprise quickly gives way to gratitude. "That would be incredible," she admits. It's rare to find support so readily offered, especially from unexpected quarters. Their partnership begins at that moment, with Jack's resources and Sarah's knowledge combining to address some immediate needs. As they work together, Jack's understanding of his own capabilities expands. Inspired by Sarah's hands-on approach, he starts to see how his professional skills and personal commitments can intersect to create meaningful change beyond the confines of a courtroom or corporate boardroom. This unexpected encounter not only aids Tom but also fosters a mutual respect and growth between Jack and Sarah, each learning from the other's strengths. Jack's initial perceptions are challenged and reshaped, leading to a deeper appreciation of the impact one person can make, regardless of their background or resources. Jack's newfound collaboration with Sarah wasn't without its challenges. As they began working together to supply local shelters and aid initiatives, Jack was confronted with the stark realities of systemic injustices that he had previously been insulated from by his corporate bubble. This exposure triggered a profound internal conflict in Jack as he grappled with the guilt of his previous ignorance and the pride he took in his newfound role as a community supporter. One day, while visiting a shelter they were helping fund, Jack was recognized by a group who vehemently opposed his political views. They confronted him, questioning his motives and accusing him of using his sudden interest in social issues as a publicity stunt to soften his and his party's image. "How can you wear that hat and claim you care about these people?" one protester challenged, pointing at his MAGA hat, which Jack had unconsciously continued to wear. This confrontation was deeply unsettling for Jack. The encounter forced him to reflect on his identity and beliefs, and whether his actions, however well-intentioned, were perceived as genuine or merely performative. It was a painful realization that his efforts could be viewed through such a cynical lens. Later, sharing these concerns with Sarah, Jack found a patient listener. "You're facing what many who try to change do," Sarah explained, her voice calm and reassuring. "The path to making real difference is often lined with skepticism and resistance. But it's your consistent actions that will speak louder than any words or symbols you wear." Sarah's words, though comforting, left Jack wrestling with an even deeper dilemma. His alignment with a political identity that was often at odds with the values he now cherished. It was a profound internal struggle between his long-held beliefs and the new perspectives he was gaining through his direct involvement in the community. The tension reached a peak one evening at a fundraising event they organized together. During his speech, Jack decided to address the elephant in the room. He spoke openly about his journey, his initial biases, and how his experiences with Sarah and the people they were helping had transformed his understanding of what it meant to lead and to serve. "I've learned that my actions can transcend the boundaries of politics and personal belief," Jack confessed to a mixed audience, some nodding in agreement, others skeptical. "I am here not as a politician or a businessman, but as someone who wants to make a real difference." This speech was a pivotal moment for Jack. It didn't change everyone's mind, but it softened the view some had of him and sparked dialogue about the complexity of personal transformation and activism within divisive political landscapes. Through these experiences, Jack's worldview was irrevocably changed. He began to see that real change requires not only resources but also empathy, understanding, and, most importantly, a willingness to challenge one's own perspectives and biases. Sarah's role in his transformation was indispensable, not only in guiding his actions but also in helping him navigate the emotional and ethical landscapes that came with them. Months had passed since Jack first stepped into the role of a community advocate, and with each passing day, his commitment deepened, driven by the profound shifts in his understanding and heart. The skepticism he once faced had begun to wane as community members witnessed his genuine efforts and consistent presence, not just during photo ops but in the daily grind of hands-on work. Jack's transformation culminated in a significant decision that would redefine his career and personal mission. He chose to step down from his high-powered position as a corporate lawyer to establish a non-profit organization focused on legal advocacy for the homeless and marginalized populations, ensuring they had fair representation and access to justice. This bold move was inspired by Sarah's relentless dedication and the real needs he had seen and experienced firsthand. Together, Jack and Sarah launched the initiative with a kickoff event that brought together various stakeholders from the community, local government, and other non-profits. During this event, Jack publicly credited Sarah as his mentor and inspiration. None of this would have been possible without Sarah's guidance, Jack shared with the audience, his voice filled with gratitude. She showed me that to truly lead is to serve, and to serve effectively, we must listen and act with empathy and courage. Sarah, who had grown in her role to become a co-director of the new non-profit, reflected on their journey. "When Jack first approached me, I never imagined we'd end up here," she admitted during her speech. "But his willingness to learn, to really see the people he wanted to help, has taught me a lot about hope and the possibility of change." The non-profit quickly became a beacon of hope in the community. Under Jack and Sarah's leadership, it not only provided legal assistance but also worked to educate the public on the systemic issues that contribute to homelessness and poverty. They implemented community forums, workshops, and partnerships with other organizations to create a comprehensive support system that went beyond legal aid. One of their first major successes was a campaign to reform certain city ordinances that unfairly penalized the homeless, which had been a personal sore point for many of their clients. Seeing tangible results from their advocacy further galvanized Jack's resolve and reaffirmed his belief in the power of proactive, compassionate leadership. As Jack and Sarah stood together at one of the community forums, watching people from diverse backgrounds come together to support one another, they realized the impact of their work. They had not only changed policies but had also fostered a spirit of unity and understanding in a place once marked by division. In a reflective moment after the forum, Jack shared his thoughts with Sarah. "I used to think power was about having the upper hand, about ensuring my voice was the loudest in the room. Now, I see real power in the quiet moments of listening, in the stories we share, and in the small acts of kindness that speak volumes." Sarah nodded, her expression thoughtful. "And I've learned that sometimes the most unlikely partnerships can lead to the most extraordinary outcomes. What we've built here, it's about more than just filling a need. It's about changing the narrative of what's possible when people come together across divides." Their journey together had not only reshaped their community but had also transformed them personally. Jack, once a figure of corporate authority, had become a champion for the underserved, while Sarah had seen her local efforts amplified to a larger stage. The moral takeaway from their story was clear. Real change comes from the courage to confront and cast aside one's preconceptions, and from the willingness to forge connections that bridge even the most daunting divides. Through their shared mission, Jack and Sarah had demonstrated that when you change your perspective, you can change the world, one act of kindness at a time. As the sun set over the city, casting long shadows and painting the skyline in hues of orange and purple, Jack and Sarah stood together on the rooftop of their new non-profit headquarters. They looked out over the city, watching the lights flicker on in homes and offices, a city pulsating with life and complexity. "It's amazing, isn't it?" Jack remarked, his voice reflective. "From up here you can't see the divisions and the struggles, but we know they're there. We're actually doing something about it, though. It feels good. Really good." Sarah leaned against the railing, her eyes also on the horizon. "Does. And thinking about how much has changed not just out there but in us. I'm reminded every day that every single person has the capacity to grow and to heal, to make a difference in ways they can't even imagine when they start." Jack nodded. His earlier reservations and conflicts now distant memories compared to the pride and fulfillment he felt from their work. You were right about the ripples, Sarah. We started with small stones, but the ripples are growing, reaching further than I thought possible. Their conversation paused as they took in the view, each lost in their thoughts about the journey. It was Sarah who broke the silence. Do you remember that first day we met at the park? You stepping in like that, it was a catalyst. Not just for what we started here, but for me, to see that change can come from where we least expect it. Jack laughed softly. I was just as surprised as you were, to be honest. If you told me then that I'd leave corporate law to run a non-profit, I wouldn't have believed you. But here we are, and I can't imagine being anywhere else. As the evening deepened into night, they continued to discuss plans and dreams, the challenges they faced, and the victories they celebrated. Their shared vision for a better community had bound them together in an unlikely but profound friendship. Before they headed back inside, Jack turned to Sarah once more. Thank you, Sarah, for showing me what real strength looks like. It's not about power or control. It's about kindness, humility, and human connection. It's about seeing the person behind the circumstances. Sarah smiled, touched by his words. And thank you, Jack, for being brave enough to change and to help change the world with me. Here's to many more years of making a difference together. As they walked back into the building, the moral of their story was clear and inspiring. True courage lies in the willingness to change oneself and in doing so, change the world around them. Through kindness, humility, and connection, even the most unlikely individuals can forge a path that lights the way for others. Their story was a testament to the transformative power of empathy and action, a narrative of hope for anyone willing to open their heart and extend their hand.